You stopped needing approval. They watched you closely. Waiting for you to break. Waiting for you to beg. Waiting for you to come crawling back. Asking for their validation like oxygen. Because that's who you used to be. Right? The one who needed a nod. A smile. A good job. A little approval just to feel like you existed. They built their expectations around that version of you. They studied your hunger for validation, like it was your weakness, and then they bet everything on it. But something shifted. Something inside you went quiet, and then powerful. And they didn't see it coming. They thought you would stay dependent. They thought you would keep performing, keep proving, keep bending yourself into shapes that pleased them. They believed you would exhaust yourself, chasing their acceptance, forever orbiting around their opinions, because that's what you did. You showed up when they called. You adjusted when they criticized. You doubted yourself when they withdrew. They thought your identity lived in their hands, but what they didn't understand, what they never understood, is that pressure creates something dangerous. Not weakness. Transformation. While they were watching you from a distance, judging, calculating, assuming you were changing. Slowly at first, painfully. Silently. It didn't start with confidence. Started with exhaustion. The kind of exhaustion that seeps into your bones, where pretending becomes heavier than truth, where seeking approval feels like carrying chains you didn't even realize you were wearing. And one day, you just stopped. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just stopped. Stopped explaining yourself. Stopped chasing their reactions. Stopped shrinking to fit their comfort. And in that stillness, something unfamiliar appeared. Peace. But don't get it twisted. It wasn't easy. You went through the fire. There were nights where silence felt like rejection. Moments where not being validated made you question everything again. Am I enough? Do they still see me? Did I lose something or gain something? Your mind tried to pull you back to the old patterns. Back to seeking, back to needing. Because comfort lives in familiarity, even if that familiarity is pain. But you didn't go back. You stood in the discomfort. You let the silence speak, and what it told you changed everything. You realized something terrifying and liberating. Their approval was never your power. It was your leash. Every compliment they gave you came with conditions. Every validation came with control. And once you saw it, you couldn't unsee it. You started to notice the patterns. How they praised you when you complied. How they distanced themselves when you grew. How their support was just a reflection of how useful you were to them. And suddenly, their opinions didn't feel like truth anymore. They felt small. That's when the transformation began. Not on the outside, but deep inside, where identity is rebuilt. You stopped introducing yourself through their eyes. Stopped measuring your worth through their reactions. You began asking different questions. Not, do they like me? But do I like who I am becoming? Not, am I enough for them? But are they aligned with me? And those questions, they shifted the entire balance of power. Because the moment you stopped needing approval, you became dangerous. They felt it. They felt it. The change in your energy. The silence where there used to be seeking. The confidence that didn't ask for permission. It confused them. Where did the version of you go? The one who needed them. Why aren't you reacting the same? Why aren't you chasing? Why aren't you explaining? And that's when their control started slipping. Because control only exists when someone needs something from you. And you stopped needing. Did they really think you would stay the same forever? Did they really believe you would remain trapped in a cycle of approval seeking just to make them comfortable? No, they underestimated what happens when a person faces themselves fully. When you sat alone without applause, without reassurance, without validation. You met someone powerful. Yourself, not the version shaped by others, not the version edited for acceptance, but the raw, unfiltered, undeniable truth of who you are. And that version doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't shrink. There's a certain kind of power in not needing to be seen, a certain kind of freedom in not needing to be understood. Because when you no longer depend on external approval, you move differently, you speak differently, you exist differently. You don't perform anymore, you embody. And that's what unsettles them this most. Not your success, not your growth, not your indifference, because they can't manipulate what doesn't react. They can't control what doesn't seek. You became calm where you used to be anxious, centered where you used to be scattered, certain where you used to doubt. And they started questioning themselves. Why don't they need me anymore? Why aren't they affected? Why do they seem stronger without us? Because the truth is, you didn't lose anything. You reclaimed everything. Every ounce of energy you used to spend seeking approval, you redirected inward. Into growth. Into discipline. Into clarity. You built yourself in silence. No announcements. No validation. Just action and action. Doesn't need applause. You became your own witness, your own supporter. Your own validation. And that kind of self-sufficiency, it's rare. It's powerful. It's unstoppable. There were moments, weren't there? Moments where they tried to pull you back. Subtle comments, passive-aggressive remarks, little tests, to see if you still cared. To see if you'd react. But you, DIDN single quotes D, not because you couldn't, but because you chose not to. And that choice, that's power. You realized something profound. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves your energy, your attention, your validation. And once you understood that, you became selective. Intentional. Uncheckable. You stopped explaining your boundaries. You started enforcing them. You stopped seeking approval. You started living in alignment. You stopped reacting. You started observing. An observation? It gives you clarity. You began to see people for who they are, not who you hoped they'd be. You saw the patterns, the insecurities, the projections, and instead of taking it personally, you understood it. And then you detached. Detachment isn't coldness. It's clarity. It's knowing what deserves your energy. And what doesn't. It's choosing peace over chaos. Growth over validation. Self-respect over approval. And that's when your life changed. Not overnight, but undeniably. You walked into rooms and didn't seek attention. Yet somehow, you commanded it. You spoke less, but your words carried more weight. You did less, but achieved more, because you were no longer scattered. You were focused. Aligned. Grounded. You stopped proving. You started becoming. And becoming is quiet. It's internal. It's powerful in ways that don't need to be displayed. Because real growth, it doesn't scream. It resonates. They can feel it when you walk in. That energy, that presence, that certainty. And it makes them uncomfortable because it reminds them of everything they haven't done, everything they haven't faced, everything they're still avoiding. You became a mirror, not by trying, but by being. And now, they don't know how to handle you because you don't fit the version they created in their minds. You're not predictable anymore, not controllable, not dependent. You're free, and freedom, it's terrifying to those who rely on control. But to you, it's everything. You wake up, and you don't need validation to start your day. You move without waiting for permission. You decide without fear of judgment. And most importantly, You trust yourself. That trust, it's your foundation, Dot. It's what keeps you steady, even when the world tries to shake you, because you've already faced the hardest thing. Dot yourself, Dot. And once you conquer that, nothing external holds the same power. Dot. This is your transformation. Not loud, not flashy, but undeniable.